When thinking about Justin Thomas, a few things come to mind. Ball striking, superb short game, and the ability to make clutch putts. There's no argument about any of that. So how has Justin gone from number one in the world to not making it through to the FedEx Finals and not making the Ryder Cup team? What has happened to JT? Hello, welcome along to the first ever Pro Show. This is my attempt to look at pro golfers, look at some stats, look at what's going on around the world at different pro tours and just seeing what these guys are up to. So as you saw in the intro today is what's happened to JT. And as I said, he went from world's number one, 5 weeks at number one, I believe, 4 weeks, and then he had another week sometime after. That was in 2020. So let's have a look at some of the stats. So if we look at 2024, I'm using data golf here, so a couple of things to talk about first. So the official world golf ranking lost some value at some point when the bunch of good players left the PGA Tour and played in events that didn't have world ranking points, so that no longer became a viable gauge of how good someone is, with players like Cam Smith and Bryson DeChambeau, doing well and not getting the recognition for it. So Data Golf, very, very good website, link down below. It's free. You can go and check all of this stuff out yourselves. They use strokes gained. They have modified it slightly to look at years separately, look at tournaments separately. So if it gives you a strokes gained number, it will be like against that tournament and that sort of thing. So they have their own rankings, and I suspect if you were a gambling type, you'd see that the Data Golf rankings probably lead the official world golf rankings by a little bit. So if you were looking for informed players, this would be the place to do it. So anyway, he was ranked number one in Data Golf in April 2022, and when I took this snapshot, he was 54th in the world, which obviously isn't great. His official world rankings hadn't dropped that much. Like I say, not really worth thinking about. So his 2022 season was actually all right. If you look at his previous years, when 2020 and that sort of thing, they were superb. But as it goes, starting in April, tied 8th, tied 5th, then wins the PGA Championship. So that's all right. Charles Schwab the week after didn't make the cut. You can forgive that, the hangover. And then he was third in the Canadian Open. So all going pretty well. Tied for 37th at the US Open, not great. And then missed cut, tied for 53rd in the Open. And yeah, it's kind of going downhill a little bit. He did tie for 5th in the Tour Championship, and the Hero World Challenge 5th, the Waste Management 4th, so kind of okay. But there's a bunch of 20s, 21sts, 60s, and then we get to not making the cut at the Masters, and then a bunch of missed cuts. Memorial, US Open, Rocket Mortgage Classic, the Open and the 3M Open all miss cuts, and it's just like, if you're not working on the weekend, you're not working, basically. So that's where we got to, and that's why he didn't have the FedEx points, and that's why he's on a bit of a holiday at the moment. So 2020, like I say, standout year. This takes some explaining. So the middle circle, the dotted circle, is the PGA Tour average for that year, and these 5 disciplines: putting, driving distance, driving accuracy, approach, and around the green. So the green pentagram is this year. The orange one is 2020. So you can see he was amazing in 2020. His approach play, absolutely peerless. Around the green, like I said in the intro, short game master, great putter, hit it a long way, like well past the average, and was just inside the average for accuracy, which, you know, isn't really that important. When we look at his 2022, he was gaining 2 strokes around on the field in every tournament, 2 strokes on the average. So obviously the winners are, you know, above that in some tournaments. You know, sometimes four shots around. We can look at some of that as well. In 2023, he was gaining less than a shot on the average, which just doesn't cut it. So he was losing nearly 0.4 of a shot on putting, about the same around the green, not really losing anything. He lost a little bit, losing basically half a shot on approach, and a third of the shot off the tee. So that's 1.2 shots in total per round that he was losing against the field. So let's dive into that approach play, because that's really, you know, the bulk of it. There's not much you can say about putting. You're either good or you're bad, or you're good or you're very good. But approach play seems to be the differentiator between winners and losers on a given week. Obviously, some weeks it just comes down to putting, as we saw this week. So I've only got the data covering the last 2 years, and then we can look at the last 12 months and how much he's got worse in that time frame, which is good enough for what we need to see. So on this screen we've got the strokes gained per shot, proximity to the hole, greens in regulation, and then the interesting ones is good shot percentage and poor shot avoidance. I had to peer over the camera to see those. So we've got all of the different yardages. So the real key to Justin's game is the 100 yards to 150 yard shots. He was basically the best. His proximity, average proximity from 534 shots in the fairway was 18 feet. That's his average from 100 to 150 yards. So probably, you know, pitching wedge for him, maybe 9 iron. I know he plays traditional lofted irons. He was gaining above 0.05 strokes per shot, which adds up really, really quickly. Greens 82%, kind of neither here nor there. Now the good shot percentage. Now this is the one that I didn't know about until I started doing this program. And Data Golf have got a really good blog post on this, that if you're into data and you are, consider yourself to be a high quality geek, you need to go and check it out. I'm not going to talk through it here. It's quite a read, but it's fantastic. So we've got this good shot percentage at 11%. So that means that Justin was gaining more than half a shot on 11% of his shots, which is absolutely mind-blowing if you get that. He was in the 98th percentile, so there were people hitting more percentage of great shots, but that's quite interesting. His poor shot avoidance was 95%, which was the 92nd percentile. So that percentage is worked out doing 1 over the number of shots that are losing half a shot or more. So that's a bad shot. So if you gain more than half a shot, that's a great shot. If you lose more than half a shot, that's a poor shot. That's how they do it. So so that's the last 2 years. So then if we look at the last 12 months, we can see he just got worse at hitting good shots, and he's still amazing in this thing, in this this 100 to 150 yards, and he's dropped a little bit off his 2-year baseline. Now, when you start looking around at the other ones where he wasn't amazing in the first place, it becomes a bit of a different story. So from 50 to 100 yards, good shot percentage of 9.9%, which was the 57th percentile on the PGA Tour, and poor shot avoidance of 93%. If we look at the last 12 months, he is bad, right? Compared to the old JT, nowhere near. 4.2% of his shots are now considered good, above half a strokes gain. His poor shot avoidance has actually gone up. Now this is the thing that really stood out to me. It's like he isn't, like he's being defensive maybe, right? I don't know what his thought process is, and I'm sure that he's got someone looking at this data, or he's been thinking about it, but he's hitting less great shots and hitting less poor shots. So it's almost like he's not firing at pins from this distance. He's being defensive. He's got tight over his game, and he's got significantly worse. Like I say, he's got a little bit worse in 100 to 150, a little bit worse in 150 to 200, but he's got in this range way worse at poor shot avoidance, and way worse at greens in reg. Greens in regulation is like such a useless stat because it basically correlates to score quite heavily. So I think we just disregard that. So from his bread and butter is still his bread and butter, but these short pitches and these medium approach shots, he's just got bad. If I was giving advice to JT, I'm not giving advice to JT. I'd start looking at those good shots. Stop trying to avoid the bad ones. Start trying to make the great ones. What really stood out for me when doing the research and having found this stuff out is watching him when he was on the bubble of missing out on the FedEx. 72nd, 71st, that sort of thing. Last day to make any points. and his play was absolutely unbelievable. Let's have a look.
Wow, man. Gosh, he got enough hook on it, just couldn't keep it in the air long enough.
Oh, come on now. You can't be serious.
No way.
So there you are. I hope you found that interesting. It was tricky for me to do this. I've had the idea for a little while. I wanted to have more content that I could do indoors when it's not when it's blowing a gale and I can't get the tripod out and that sort of thing. Wanted to make this channel a little bit more well-rounded, so hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.